Welcome to The Explainer, where we turn complex ideas into clear, actionable insights. Today, we're jumping into one of the toughest nuts to crack in business right now, getting AI right. Let's kick things off with a pretty brutal number. According to a study from MIT, 95%, just let that sink in, 95% of generative AI pilots fail to deliver any real return on investment. That is just a mind-blowing failure rate. And you think that's bad? It actually gets worse. Another report found that a whopping 88% of AI pilots never even make it to production. They just fizzle out. They end up in what we call the pilot graveyard.
So, you gotta ask yourself, right? In this total AI chaos, how can any company, especially a smaller one, possibly hope to succeed? Well, today, we're gonna unpack a blueprint that's designed to help you completely sidestep that AI pilot graveyard.
All right, so let's dive headfirst into this sobering reality of why so many of these projects, even with the best intentions, just completely fall flat. And believe me, there's a really clear and consistent pattern here.
Yeah, the data really tells a story of pure chaos. A full 60% of AI projects, they generate zero material value. So why is this happening? Well, companies get super excited, right? They launch these pilots with absolutely no structure. They try to measure results without ever knowing where they started from, without a baseline. And in the end, they just can't tell the difference between a real win and just random noise. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's the twist. What if your company's size, the very thing you might see as a weakness, is actually its biggest secret weapon in this whole AI race? We are talking about the mid-market. This isn't about the huge tech giants. No, this is the real AI adoption battleground. This is where the wins and losses are the most dramatic because you're dealing with this unique mix of incredible advantages and, let's be honest, some very real constraints. Just look at this contrast. It's night and day. You've got a tiny fraction of the budget, and a lot of the time you only get one shot to get this right. Those constraints mean you have to be laser-focused, absolutely precise. But, and this is the big but, look at that bottom line. Your agility? It gives you this incredible, game-changing speed. And here it is, that key advantage in black and white. While some massive enterprise is stuck in meetings and navigating bureaucracy for 9 months, a mid-market company can go from a pilot idea to a full-scale rollout in just 90 days. You can literally scale 3 times faster. That is huge. Okay, so let's pivot to the solution. How do you actually harness that speed? Well, you need a disciplined structure. You gotta forget those long, wandering, exploratory projects. The answer is a super focused 6-week pilot. Now, this timeline, it's not just a suggestion. It's a system. Every single week has a specific job to do, and it all builds towards one thing: a clear, evidence-based decision point before you even think about committing to a massive, expensive rollout. Okay, listen up, because I absolutely cannot stress this enough. Week 1 is everything. The success or failure of your entire pilot, it's pretty much decided right here, in these first few days. And getting this right means you have to consciously avoid some really common and really costly mistakes. So don't say you're going to fix customer experience. That's way too vague. Instead, pick one specific, measurable workflow, like, say, triaging support tickets. Don't say you want to improve efficiency. No. Define success as a 25% reduction in cycle time. And please, give it to a single owner, not a committee that's going to debate it to death. The goal here isn't some 40-page business case. It's a simple 1-page pilot charter. That's it. All right, week 2, this is all about getting the tech in place. But you have to follow one crucial principle: integrate, don't build. Use the tools you already have whenever you possibly can. This is not about creating some brand new, shiny platform. It's about testing a hypothesis with the smallest possible investment. Doing it this way can save you a cool 40 to 60%. And now we go live. For 2 straight weeks, the pilot is up and running in a controlled environment. And the key here is daily granularity. You're tracking your KPIs every single day. You're logging every little error or hiccup. And you have to strictly resist that temptation to add more features. This is how you generate enough real data to tell the difference between a true signal and just, wishful thinking. Week 5. This is the moment of truth. You sit down and you look at the data with cold, hard honesty. Did we actually hit our target, yes or no? What were the hidden costs? What problems popped up that we didn't expect? This is where you figure out if the pilot gave you real, hard evidence to scale, or, and this is just as important, if it gave you evidence to stop. And that all leads to the final decision gate in week 6. And look, there are only 3 options on the table with zero ambiguity. You either scale it up, you iterate on one specific improvement, or you pull the plug, you stop. And that decision? It's based entirely on the evidence you just spent the last few weeks gathering. So, how do you make sure you're running on facts, not just feelings and hype? Well, you have to hardwire a few key rules into your whole process. You gotta force a culture of evidence over enthusiasm. This slide just lays it out so clearly. It's how you replace bad gut feel decisions with good, solid data. So, the team liked it, that's subjective. That doesn't really help. A measured KPI delta against your baseline, that's objective. It seems faster, that's a feeling. A 12-second reduction in cycle time, that is a cold, hard fact. This is how you make smart calls, plain and simple. And this is exactly why it's so critical. The sunk cost trap, that little voice in your head that says, oh, but we've invested too much to stop now. That feeling is absolutely lethal for a mid-market company. So having those predefined stop criteria that you all agreed on way back in week 1, that's your shield. It's what stops emotional attachments from steamrolling the hard evidence.
Okay, and this brings us to what might be the most critical takeaway from this entire blueprint. It really requires a fundamental shift in how you think about what it even means for an AI pilot to be a success.
A pilot that ends with a stop decision is not a failure. Let me say that again. It is not a failure. It is a strategic victory. It means you successfully used evidence to dodge a bad investment, saving your company a ton of time, a ton of money, and a ton of focus. See, the goal isn't just to scale AI for the sake of it. It's to make a confident, evidence-based decision, whatever that decision ends up being.
Just let this sink in for a second. The pilot that produces a confident no in 6 weeks is worth more than the project that produces an ambiguous maybe in 6 months. A confident no after 6 weeks is incredibly valuable. It is so much better than being stuck in limbo with an ambiguous maybe after 6 months and who knows how many thousands of dollars. This framework literally transforms a potential failure into a fast, cheap, and really powerful learning experience.
So that's the question I want you to take back to your team. Don't go in and ask, so how can we use AI? That's the wrong question. Instead ask, what's the first high-friction, measurable workflow we can put on the clock? Because now you have a blueprint to get a fast, evidence-based answer in just 6 weeks.